Hello everyone, my name is Sam. Welcome back to the channel. Have you wondered how you would want to put your website on AWS? Don't worry about that, because this tutorial teaches you how to put your WordPress website on AWS EC2 and then goes ahead to teach you how you would configure Route 53 with your custom domain and then secure the website with SSL. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share for others to know. See you in the video. In this video, we'll be talking about how to install a WordPress on AWS EC2 instance. We will be using LAMP. The LAMP server we will install on Linux. We'll use Apache, MySQL, and then PHP. After that, we use Route 53 to configure our DNS with our custom domain, and then we secure it with SSL. Be reminded that this video is not about web designing per se or customizing website, but rather how you configure an WordPress on EC2 instance. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe, like and share. And if you are ready, let's dive into it. So I'm already logged into my AWS console. We need to prepare a server to host our website. So we are going to launch an EC2 instance. You click on launch instance. Then we want to provide a name. Okay, so let's name our web server WordPress. Okay. Then we'll choose the Ubuntu Linux version. Then we create a new key pair, which I may call website. Then when it comes to our network settings, we allow SSH, we allow HTTP, and then allow HTTPS. Then we increase the size to maybe, let's say, 30 gig. For now, everything is fine. Then we click on launch instance. Okay, so our instance is ready and it's running now. So at the moment, this is our public IP address. So what we need to do is that we need to give it an elastic IP such that if you restart the server, we don't lose our IP, because we are going to use that for our DNS and other configurations. So if the IP is to be changing all the time, your website will break. So as a matter of fact, we configure an elastic IP for this instance. Okay, you scroll down, you click on elastic IPs, click on allocate elastic IP address, then you click on allocate. So our IP address has been allocated, but now we need to associate this IPv version this elastic IP to the EC2 instance. You select the IP, you click on actions, and then you click on associate elastic IP address. So we want to associate our IP address with the instance, so we choose instance. Then we come to where we are. We'll choose our instance. We will choose WordPress, since it's the only instance running in our AWS account. We click on associate. Okay, so when you go back to our instance, our IP address would have changed to the elastic IP. So now let's log into our EC2 instance using the console. Using the terminal. So we are already in our download folder. We just need to give it permissions for now. Now we log into our EC2 instance. our default Ubuntu user is Ubuntu. Okay, let me copy the IP address. Yes. Okay, so once we have been able to log in into our instance, the next thing is to upgrade the instance, our server. Okay. Okay, now that our package is done, the next thing we need to do is to install our Apache server. Sudo Okay, so we need to check whether this Apache service is running. Okay, so it's indicated here that our service is up and running. Okay, so you press Ctrl C to get out of the prompt. Okay, so the next thing we are supposed to do is to install our database. Okay, so we are going to install MySQL database. So from this point, I'll be copying and pasting all the commands, okay, so that it will be fast enough. So I've put all the links and the command into my GitHub repository. You can pick it up from there. Okay, so you're going to install MySQL. Okay, so now we just need to start the service. Okay. Okay, so we need to check the status. Okay, so the status is also up and running. So MySQL is set. Okay, so the next step is to configure MySQL. Okay, so once we are in the prompt, we need to alter the root user. Okay, so now we need to exit out of. So now we need to install this one such that the root user will now be able to use the password. Okay, so we put in the root password. Now here it's asking for, would you like to validate the password? You want to change it. Now in your case, when you are doing this on production, you are supposed to change the password, but then since this is just a demo, I'm going to go through with the password, the original password. Okay, so I won't change it for now, but when you're doing it at the production level or a real website, you're supposed to change the password. Sure, we need to remove all anonymous users. Yes. Disallow root login remotely. Yes. Remove test database. Yes, you're supposed to take every database on it except the one that we'll be creating. Okay. So now that we are done with that, we will log in back and alter our root user. Okay. Now we need to create a user for our database. Okay. Now the root user has so much power that if you're not careful, you might delete something that cannot be reversible. Okay, so to avoid all those, we create a new user with limited privileges so that anytime something happens, we can use the root user to amend or do corrections on that. So we create a new user. So let me edit this side and then put my, okay, so let me copy that. Okay, so this one has been, we've created a user identified by password. So this is the password for it. But in your instance, if you are creating on a production level, please choose a stronger password, a complex password for it. Don't use just simple thing, because this is just a demo I'm showing you. That's why I'm using this. Okay, then we create our database. Okay, so our database is created. Then we grant all permissions on this database that we've created, on the WordPress database we created, to the user. Okay, so let's change it. Let me edit it and put our now we need to flash the privileges such that any memory, any cache and all that is taken off. Okay, so the next step is to install our PHP. I will leave a link to this GitHub repository so that you can be able to copy and paste. Copy it back. So the next thing is that we would have to install two packages. The package to download the WordPress website, which is called the wget, and then the package to unzip. Okay, so we need to install these two packages. I've already copied that from the GitHub repository. Then you paste. Okay, it's been installed already. So then we need to download our WordPress application. Okay, so we use this command. Okay, it's been downloaded. We need to unzip, so you just type sudo unzip latest. Okay, so it has extracted all the WordPress files. Now the next thing is that let's check our current working directory. We are in the Ubuntu directory. Okay, so now we need to copy this into our HTML file where Apache renders website files. Okay, now let's check our. Okay, so what you see here is rendering from this page, this directory. Okay, so this is where our website will be rendered from. So we need to copy the WordPress website, the WordPress files into this particular folder so that it can be able to render the web application or the web page. Okay, we need to copy all of the WordPress file into that. Okay, so let's navigate into that folder and then check to see whether. Okay, so our WordPress files have been copied into our HTML folder. Okay, now let's move on. Now let's look at this. You see that the WordPress files belong to root user. Okay, now for you to render pages using Apache, it needs to be, the user should be the www.data user. Okay, if you own those files before it can be able to render, but right now as we have now is the root user, so we need to change the permissions for the www.data user to own these files. Okay, so let's list again. Now it's changed to www-data user. Okay, all right. So now as you can see, it is this page which is rendering because we still have the HTML file, index.html file, which is this one rendering over here. Okay, so we need to remove that file so that WordPress can now be rendered. Okay, so we need to remove that particular file. Okay, so now let's refresh our page. We now start with the installation of WordPress. So English, we continue. So we need to provide this name, the database name, username, password, the host, everything. So let's click on let's go. Our database name was called WordPress, so we just type our database name. The username was 𝐂𝐓 with Sam. Our password was password. Even though it's weak, don't use this password, use a proper password, a complex one, of course. Then the database host is the local host, so click on submit. So now you click on run installation. Okay, what will be our site title? We just put in 𝐂𝐓 with Sam, username 𝐂𝐓 with Sam, our password. Of course, you should maintain a strong password, but I'm going to just put in a simple password. put our email address, 𝐂𝐓, just put your own email address over there, and then click on install WordPress. Click on login. Okay, so we just put in our username 𝐂𝐓 with Sam, and then our password. Okay, so this is our WordPress website. Now let's copy beautiful. So now our web page is displaying very beautifully, but then we need to assign this IP address to a domain name. Okay, so we are going to use Route 53. I've already made a video on that. If you don't know how to do that, I will link that video in the description box. Okay, so now let's go to our EC2 console again. Now we type route. Okay, so you click on create hosted zone. Click on this one. We now put in our domain. I've already registered a domain already, so I will type that in. 𝐂𝐓 with Sam.xyz. We choose public hosted zone, that's right. Then we click on create hosted zone. Okay, so now we have our DNS created for us. So we need to add 2 more records to this, and then we go to our domain host and then configure that one too. So click on create record. Here I'm not going to put anything there, leave it like that. And then we put our IP address. So we go for IP address right here. We paste our IP. We choose simple routing. If you don't know these things, check that video in the description box. You click on create records. It's been created. There we have it. Now we create another record. We put in our subdomain, which is www over there. Then we go for our IP address. We put IP address over here. Then we click on create record. So now we have 4 records in our hosted zone. So now we need to update our domain with our DNS names. Okay, now I go to my, I have my domain with name.com. So I have to update these name servers with what AWS has given us. So I have to delete these ones, save changes. Then I go to my Route 53 and copy the name servers that AWS has provided for us. So make sure you don't copy the ending dots. Add name service. Then you click on another, you copy the rest. Okay, so we need to go into our WordPress and make some changes in there. Okay, so let's go to settings, click on general. So we need to change this one to 𝐂𝐓 with Sam.xyz. You copy, then you click on save changes. Okay, so it's going to take a little bit of time. for it to propagate the internet. So let's hold on. So the next thing is that we need to configure our virtual host, okay, to host our domain names so that it can be able to resolve really well. So let's navigate to this. So we need to create our own conf file, okay. The Apache web server uses the default one, which is the 000-default. Let me, okay, to render the domain names. Apache uses the 00 default configuration file, but in this case we are going to create our own configuration file, okay. So sudo, okay, so you hit I to go into the insert mode. So when you see this thing, it means that you are now, the file is now ready to be edited. So let's go and copy this into our conf file. Now we need to edit this file to suit our domain names, okay. Okay, so when you are done editing, we click on escape. You press the escape to take off the insert mode, then you click on colon write and quit so that it will save and then close the file, okay. When you're done, you hit enter. Okay, so to verify, we can just issue the same command. You see that our entries have been saved correctly. Now when we are done with this, we need to make this file that you've created be the active one, okay, because Apache is still using this very 00 default file. So let's go to the command and then copy this one. So I need to make some changes. So let me just change this one and then put, so we are just enabling this one. So we wouldn't restart for now. We also need to deactivate the default file, okay. So that one we can just type sudo. Okay, so we need to restart our Apache server. So we just need to check the status. Okay, so our okay, so let's head back and see. Okay, so our website is now resolving to our domain name. Now if you look here, it's saying not secure, so we need to secure it by providing the SSL. Okay, so we are going to use a free software called the Certbot to do that. Okay, so it's finished installing. We just need to configure it. Enter email, so I need to provide my email. Yes, you need to agree to the terms of Certbot. Here, do I want whether they will give me a notification about some product? No. Okay, so they are asking you whether you want to provide security for these two. Now, yes, I'm going to provide security for 𝐂𝐓 and then 𝐊𝐄𝐘𝐄𝐓. So you can either choose 1 and 2, or you can just leave it blank. You hit enter, it's going to select both of them. Okay, so now it is done with it. So let's go back to our browser and then refresh this one. Okay, so when you check it, you see that HTTP is there. To confirm it, you click on this one, and then it tells you your connection is secure. And you click on this, it tells you that this is your certificate of authorization for SSL. Okay, so now we have been able to create our WordPress website on EC2 instance, configured Route 53, and then secured it with Certbot. If this tutorial has been informative to you, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and then share for others to know. See you in the next video.